Artists, we've all been there before. We finally time to ourselves and we sit down with our favorite drawing utensils, sketchbook, tablets, what have you, and we finally get to sit down and draw. And then there's nothing. No thoughts. Head empty. Whatever thoughts you may have in there is just jingling around like loose change. If you even have that, maybe there's a little bit of pocket lint in there. Other than that, nothing. Artists, we've all been there. We have all experienced art block. But let's just call it like it really is. Art block is a form of burnout. And friends, I have possible reasons as to why. A lot of us sit there frustrated with ourselves, asking, why can't I draw? It was so easy before. I did it all the time. It was like drinking water. Why can't I draw? Well, friends, I am here with possibly some solutions. Before we begin, my name is Ash, and if you have never visited my channel before, I post art-related videos, speed paints, and occasional shenanigans from time to time. So if you like those types of videos, go ahead and give a subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you're notified whenever I post. My notification team is tiny, but they are mighty. And comment down below if any of these particular reasons help you. I find that number 3 resonates with me specifically, so stay tuned for that one. The first common reason that I found is maybe you're not challenging yourself enough. Maybe you're sitting there trying to draw the same bread and butter that you have for a while and it's just not coming to you. That is when I particularly find it helpful to start something that would challenge you, that would make your brain wake up, because in reality it's not your hand that's the problem, it's your brain. It's your brain not wanting to draw. So if you give yourself a nice little fun challenge, perhaps that would get those creative juices flowing. You could try 30-day art challenges. You can try a character creation randomizer if that's your kind of thing. I personally start a big project and try and see how far I can get. When I was in these types of situations, that's when I started looking into animation, looking into animatics. Maybe it's not necessarily the art that's the problem. Maybe it's the form of art. Maybe you need to search and find other art forms that you would like to try. Maybe try a different medium. Something that you know that you can do with your skills, but it will take you some effort to actually create and complete that project. Number 2, and a very common problem I see in the artist community, is that a need isn't being met. This particularly is something that resonated with me when I was going to therapy, and I was talking about how I couldn't bring myself to draw for a little bit. And it wasn't because I wasn't being challenged or anything, and it was very eye-opening. My therapist particularly showed me this little pyramid called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it is a psychological theory that says that if your basic needs aren't being met, then you cannot fulfill other needs. For instance, if your physiological needs aren't being met, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not getting enough food, if you're not hydrated, if you're not in an environment that feels safe, it would be harder for you to do something like create art. If you aren't drinking enough water, if you're not eating enough food, if you're not sleeping enough, if your environment isn't clean, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to create art. I would recommend checking in on yourself to make sure all your needs are met, that you're hydrated, that you're fed, that the habitat that you surround yourself with is one that feeds creativity, because if it's not, no wonder you can't draw. Your body needs more than that, and so your brain will not let you make art. I would recommend checking in on yourself, and if there is a need not being met, try meeting that need, give yourself a little bit of time, and then come back to it. I am sure that that would at least help. And number 3 is You draw too much. I know. Art block is from drawing too much, but hear me out. Art imitates life and life imitates art. If you are only staying inside and drawing and making art and doing other things, and you're not socializing, and you're not going out, and you're not looking at things, if you're not experiencing the world around you, how are you going to create art? How can your brain make something out of nothing? It really can't. All creativity has to flow from something. And if you're not going outside, if you're not socializing with people, if you're not experiencing the world around you, it makes it a lot harder for you to create stories, to draw people, to make art, to have ideas, because no one can live in a vacuum. If you commit yourself to a vacuum, you're going to run out of ideas. You're going to run out of things to do. And that is when art block comes in. This is something that I have struggled with recently, where I basically have locked myself in my apartment and I don't do anything but go to work and I draw all the time. That's all I want to do. But I started to feel like I was running out of steam and I was running out of ideas, and I didn't want to do art. I didn't want to draw. And then I actually started having a social life and going outside and talking to people, bouncing ideas off of other people, and all of a sudden I can start drawing again. I would recommend for people who are in this area to just touch grass. And I say that with all the love in my heart. Log off the computer, get away from the sketchbook just for 15 minutes out of the day. Take a walk, call somebody, talk to your friends, make plans, go do something. Because once you finally experience our world, you can come back and you can create again. Anyways, these are just 3 reasons why you may be experiencing art block. There may be other reasons, but these were the 3 big reasons that I have seen amongst my friends, amongst my peers, and within myself. And so I really hope that this advice helped you. And if there was a particular step that really resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I would love to have a discussion with you about that reason, because I know that I'm not the only person who gets art block like this. Anyways, I am gonna leave it off here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!